Hi, Danville. Alan Schiltz here, Chief of Police for the town, and we are 10-8 and in service, which means we are here to make people's lives better, and we do that in order to safeguard the lives, rights, and property of everyone we serve. So, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Actually, I want two questions right off the bat, and I want you to throw your answer in the chat. And these are two very important questions. The first one, same as last week: who here has already downloaded that all hazards guide and the sheriff's wildfire preparedness guide? So put it in the chat and say, hey, I've downloaded it. The other one, and probably the most important question, is what is your favorite Turkey Day meal? So if it's the turkey, the stuffing, I'm kind of curious. We still have one more slot to fill at the Shields house. And so if you've got a good idea, I'm open for suggestions. So if you can throw that in there, that'd be great. Mine personally is the stuffing. I also like a sweet potato pone. It's absolutely delicious. We're going to cover the blotter today. We're going to give an update on the robbery that occurred this week. And then we're going to give the traffic collision map. So if you remember a week or so ago, there was someone that said, hey, where are these collisions occurring in town? So what I did was I took the time and I printed up some maps, and I'll show those to you when we get going here. All right, first off, here is your FEMA all hazards checklist. There is a link in the description. You can click it and download it. Again, that along with the wildfire preparedness guide, my recommendation is just download it and review it and throw it in a drawer and be prepared. Next, we want people to sign up for the community warning system alert system through the office of the sheriff. Also, if you can go to the wildfire preparedness and evacuation guide, download that, put it right next to the FEMA all hazards guide, and that'll be great. Let me do this too. We have moved, so this will be the last week that we're announcing this on the show. But we're at 500 Lagonda. We're right next door. So if you want to mail us a letter or come and visit, that's our new address. All of our phone numbers have stayed the same. Don't worry about that. All right. So this is a live show. So if you have questions, throw them in the chat, and then I'll start. How about this? After the blotter, I'll start reading off some of the people's answers here to what they enjoy most. All right, so we are going to cover the blotter. As always, you can go to communitycrimemap.com and you can look at everything that's happening here in town. This gets updated several times a day. You can also look at sexual offender information on that site as well. But let's look at what our blotter has. All right, so for the week of November 20th through 26th, we had on the 7th, we had a theft of property from a locked car on Blackstone Drive. So I am, I'm looking, this is actually, those are last week's slides. So I'm going to apologize. I'm going to read it off my notes though, and we'll go full screen here. All right. So we had a theft of a wallet and the use of credit cards on Railroad Avenue. And then on Crow Canyon Road, there were thefts of tools from PG&E. And a lot of people don't know there's a little section on Crow Canyon Road, and it's really just PG&E that we have jurisdiction over. On the 16th, we had an arrest from Beverages and More, and we arrested that person for petty theft, stealing alcohol, and we cited him out right there at the scene. And then, believe it or not, on the 17th, we had a theft of a bunch of coats from inside a car. And then on the 17th as well, we had a theft where someone's credit card was used, and that was over on Holbrook Drive. So I do apologize for not having them up, but actually, let's look at it. The map is actually accurate, so let's at least take a look at the map. If you look at the map portion here, it is all on that north downtown area where most of our crime was. There was one segment that was down on the south end, and that was at Costco. All right, so for collisions, this is the one where you guys knocked it out of the park. We didn't have hardly any collisions. We had one reported injury collision, and you can see it was in the downtown area. And when we get to our map of where all these accidents are occurring, you'll see that that's a common theme. All right, so I do have a couple more quick announcements before we start reading off favorite foods and things like that. So we have an event coming up, and we're asking for some participation. It's down at the Costco shopping center. We're going to do it. It was wildly successful last year, but we're going to do an event called Fill the Cruiser. And this is in support of Toys for Tots. And so we might even, if we can get them out there. We'll have some Marines out there as well, but you'll see some of our officers out there, and it's a great opportunity. We'll have the bins there, and you can just throw toys and that sort of thing in the box. And it's going to be Friday, December 2nd from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So on Friday, so the day after Thanksgiving, we have the lighting of the old oak tree, and we're gonna have a lot of road closures. It will impact your travel if you're going in or out of town, but it's mostly, if you look, it's in the Harts Way corridor and a little bit of Diablo Road. So it's Harts Way from about School Street all the way north to Linda Mesa, and then Diablo Road is closed for the majority of the event, and we do open it up as soon as we can get the streets cleared and push everybody down to Harts Avenue. So if you're going down for the event, park at one of our great parking lots, come in, walk in, have a good time. If you're not coming to the event, it's best to avoid by going either north to El Cerro or south towards Sycamore if you're looking to beat the traffic on that. All right, so this is our map, but let me actually go to the chat real quick before we start covering the map. All right, so let's look. So everybody seems to like the stuffing at Thanksgiving. Does anyone make stuffing on any other day besides Thanksgiving? I don't know that I see that that very much at all. Let me pivot to this. Let me talk about the robbery update. We don't get very many violent crimes a year. Last year we had 26, which averages about 2 per month. So these are very rare for us, and it's very important that we highlight them and let you know what's going on. But just like in our vehicle accidents, we talk about how we provide information to all of you. When it comes to providing information, you'll see that we'll give an initial statement. We'll let you know what happened. If there is a call to action, in other words, if we think that there's the chance that someone's going to be victimized again, we're going to put as much information as we can out. Normally, though, we try to hold back some investigative information so that we can do a thorough investigation. Now, that's the information we release to the public. When it comes to our victims, we usually provide them as much information as is appropriate to not compromise the investigation. So it's much more open with them. Then there's going to be that period of silence where we're doing the investigation, the investigators are working hard, and then you're going to have that end where we make an arrest and we say that, we filed charges on them or what the conclusion of that investigation is. So I want you to keep those 3 steps in mind. Here's going to be the first step, and then we're going to ask for patience as we go through the middle. All right, so the robbery alert is as follows. On Monday, November 21st, 2022, so that was this last Monday, at 10:19 p.m., there was a robbery at the Chase Bank. So this is not a bank robbery, but it was a robbery that took place at the bank. The victim withdrew cash requested by the robber, and the suspect threatened a gun, but no gun was seen. And once the suspect got all their money, they fled on foot. Now, here's the issue. The officers are out doing neighborhood canvas. There's evidence that's collected and that's going to be processed for things like prints and DNA. So a lot of steps that are going to take place, and it's going to take time for us to go through that. So I will ask for patience on that, and I appreciate your support as we go through and do that kind of follow-up. All right, now it looks like we're having some more in the chat. And again, if you have a question like, hey, what happened here, throw it in the chat. If you have a policy question, I'm here to answer those as well. All right, so Sue says she likes Brussels sprouts au gratin. I love Brussels sprouts, which is odd because younger me did not. Yuri threw down some pecan pie. Eric is asking for the description of the suspect. The description that we have is a black male, and I believe it was in his 20s or 30s, and I'll have to pin down the age on that. But it was a black male wearing a hoodie. All right. I'm looking for any other questions. I don't see them. So let's see if we can't get to these maps. So what I did was, if you remember last week, we talked about those speed signs that we put up that provide us data on where people are speeding. There was a question and someone said, well, okay, we see where they're speeding, but where are these accidents actually occurring? And this happens from time to time. In fact, in the great pickleball debate, there was a question like, are there accidents occurring by Osage Park? And we did a look for about 1.5 years and determined really there were hardly any accidents. I think 1, maybe 2 in the general radius of the park. There really weren't many at all. And it really is consistent with what I've seen ever since I've been here, which is the majority of our accidents occur in the downtown area and then along our community task corridor, but really out towards the east end of town. So let's take a look at where some of our accidents are occurring. So I pulled all of our reported accident data from January 1st to November 23rd. And if you can see, this is like a graphical representation of where they are. So you can see there's a large cluster of them downtown, but the majority of those downtown ones are non-injury. The green are the non-injury. The yellow are the injury collisions. And then that one red one you see in the middle, that is a fatal collision. And now let's take a closer look at some of our areas. So this is our north end of town and our downtown area. So if you look at that area, what you're seeing is you're seeing a lot on Harts Avenue, and the majority of them are going to be the non-injury collisions. Look in the lower right, though, as we start to go down to Sycamore Valley Boulevard and in that area, you start to see more yellow poke up. And the logical conclusion behind that is those are going to be higher speed collisions based on how people are driving on those roads. All right. And so that's where we see the collisions in that area. Now let's look out east. A lot of times we get the complaints on the community task speeding. So this is a good representation of that. Not as many collisions on community tasks as you would think based on the speeding that we see and the speeding that all of you see and you let us know about. If you look, we did have the fatality and we do have a couple of injury collisions out there, but for the most part, a lot of the collisions that we see out east are actually in the neighborhoods. Center Way tends to be a spot. Tassahaira Hills, those tend to be two spots where we'll see more collisions. The south end, it's throwing darts at a dartboard at this point. There really isn't a good pattern there. One of the areas that we receive a lot of speeding complaints on is Greenbrook Drive. But if you look at the representation here, there really aren't very many accidents in this entire area, let alone specifically to Greenbrook Drive. All right. So that is what our accidents look like in the area. And I'm going to check and see if there is any other questions here in our chat. So Gary says the bike lane east of post office on westbound community task is the 8 a.m. hour is being used as a third lane every day for school. So Gary, I appreciate you reminding me about that. We did have some officers that went out there, and that's for the Sycamore School. Okay, so next week when school starts, we'll have an officer that's out there at the start of school to make sure that we're watching that. And we actually had one of our volunteers whose son was in the car with him actually snapped a nice picture to show the line. So we haven't been getting those complaints and we haven't been going out there, but we'll step up enforcement there. So Sue says the merge lane off of the freeway onto Sycamore Valley Road is awful. And Sue, do you mean the southbound lane? I'm assuming you mean the northbound lane where you turn right onto Sycamore Valley Road. That one is a tough one. And I don't know. We've had our engineers look at it. I don't know that there's much more to do there other than to remind people to slow down. Believe it or not, it is a tough intersection, but we don't get very many collisions in that intersection. We'll get them away from there, but not there. So Eric says the fatality is so sad. DA only charged with misdemeanor manslaughter, driving tired. So Eric, that is accurate. Just a reminder, in that case, we did a complete and thorough investigation on it. And if you want details on that, there is a prior episode. What I'll do is I'll put a link for that in the chat here. All right. So I'm actually going to be working pretty late tonight. I'm going to be working until about midnight. And so this is what we call college night. College night is when all the kids come back from college and they're going to be getting back together with one another, and they do it in our downtown area. And so what you'll see is our downtown turns into a little bit of a college town. Lots of people, lots of folks doing good things. We've seen it get better and better every year. 10 years ago, when I came down here as the lieutenant, there were a lot of fights, a lot of bad things happening down there. And we throw a lot of cops at it. So for the night, knowing that it's a holiday night, knowing that it's a gathering and a lot of drinking, we have extra officers on foot patrol. We have extra officers on vehicle patrol, and they're out there looking for drunk drivers. Our hope is, because of our goal is prevention, our hope is that by having that presence downtown of officers, that we won't have people get behind the wheel, right? It's good when officers catch someone drunk driving. It's better when we prevent it from happening to begin with. What I'm happy that I see down there, and I tell this every time I talk to the kids at the Start Smart program at the schools, is I think the people that I see down there are doing it far better than 10, 15, and 20 years ago. And most of what I see is I see them with their phone. They're with their phone and they're getting a ride share and they're doing it the safe way. And that is absolutely the safe way. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. We've got a lot of officers on tonight, and then we'll go home, enjoy Thanksgiving, like hopefully all of you will. And then Friday night, we're going to be out for lighting the oak tree. Again, that's one of those events where we put a lot of people out on the street, and we want to make sure that it's safe. And just like last year, you'll see those barriers. So some of our concerns are making sure that there's no opportunistic crimes or hazardous things that are going to hurt people. And so you'll see a lot of cops out there. You see a lot of cop cars out there. And you won't see some of the cops we have out there. But then you'll also see those new barriers that we've been using a lot of. And those are vehicle stopping barriers that are meant to protect an event such as this. So I hope that I get to see you maybe either tonight at college night but hopefully at the lighting of the oak tree event on Friday. And if you see any of us, come up and say hi. We'd love to hear from you in person. All right. So that's all I have. I'm going to check to see if there's any more comments or questions in the chat. Eric says those officers should be home tending to their smokers for a good brisket tomorrow. I have to be honest with you. I'm going to sneak home for about 20 minutes and start my turkey brine tonight. So I will make sure I take care of that. I've got commitments at home as well. And then Gary says, thank you for being so proactive. So Gary, that's where we would rather spend 90% of our time. I've always said the best day for us is when we arrest no one, we write no tickets, right? Because if those two things are true, then that means no one's been a victim and no one's been hurt by way of an accident. And so, Gary, you've told me from time to time, you're like, have your officers out there at 8 a.m. and we have them out there and we write 5 tickets. And then there have been other times where our officer goes out there and he's like, Chief, I was out there for an hour and 15 minutes and I couldn't find anybody speeding. And so those are actually good days. And so that's where we try to spend most of our time is on that prevention and make sure that we keep everyone safe. All right. It looks like that is it. So I do want to throw our reminders out there again. Download that FEMA guide. That is how you can be prepared should a hazard happen. Also sign up for community warning alerts. There's a link in the description for that. And you can also download the wildfire preparedness guide as well. All right. It looks like that is, I've got a couple more comments coming in. I want to make sure I don't miss them. But Eric says, stay safe, folks. Watch those knives. Hospital doesn't need more missing fingers. Eric, that is actually really true advice. When we start carving turkeys and doing all that stuff, we do get that fairly frequently. We do get an uptick in that. Please check the creek behind mountain mics on Hearts. So Sue, okay, lots of kids smoking and drinking. All right, Sue. So that's one of those areas. We've got an area at Diablo Vista Park, actually all of our parks, Sycamore, that we do check on the round. So I'll make sure that our graveyard folks are adding that to their list as well. So Sue, I appreciate it. And to everyone else, we're 10-10, which means we're off duty, but we're always 10-8 and in service to you. So thanks for joining us. Have a good night, Danville.